Hello, my loves. It's me again, the Soulful Creatrix. I'm back with, I guess, what we're still calling Big Deck Energy. Today, I have another deck of tarot cards that I am ready to introduce to you. This is the Urban Tarot, and I'm going to give you my likes, my dislikes, and how or when I would use this deck. I found this deck at a yard sale here in my city, and I loved the idea that I found this deck at a city yard sale from a bunch of people who could not actually have yard sales because they didn't have yards. So they held this big yard sale in a park, and this woman had a bunch of decks, and this one stood out to me, and I had to get it. I've been told being a Leo moon meant that I was drawn to things that are more urban, more city, more out there, and more alive and vibrant, and it made sense. I picked up the deck, and I've had it since then. Okay, so to unbox the deck, we have the deck. It comes with this nice box, big and thick. All right, hold on, let's see. Nice red inside. All right, it comes with a card that gives you some history on what this deck was inspired by. Apparently, this deck was inspired by the Thoth deck and the Rider-Waite deck originally, and then it gives you the symbols that are being used in the deck. This deck uses earth, fire, air, and water, as well as the infinite. So hold on, let's see, there we go. Okay, so you get your symbology little preview and a quick guide with this card. I like how the back of the card has this imagery of the interconnectedness of the city life, of the map, and of our interconnectedness. I moved to smack dab in the city, and this really did resonate with me when I first saw it. So this deck does come with a nice little guidebook. It's so cute, and it contains the same imagery on it. The guidebook does not have pictures, okay? So if you're into pictures, that may be something that you may want to be aware of. Of course, I don't know if I mentioned, this deck is by Robin Scott, okay, who's also did the artwork on the deck. And what I loved, first of all, was the idea that we're told that magic only lives out in the outskirts, in the forests, out in nature. And so this artist and this deck was designed to give you more of a feeling of magic and wisdom can be in the city, in the metropolis. It says, I reject the idea, basically, of magic being only in the forgotten forests and untouched places. It says, I reject this idea. I look around my world and I see the beauty, the wonder, the magic in the metropolis, the power under the pavement. And I created the Urban Tarot based upon the belief that the ideas and truths referred to by the tarot are eternal and universal. So I liked that. I really vibed with this, the idea of the deck. I got to the artistry. Well, I loved how in here there was also this, you have been told that there's no magic in your city. You've been told that your world is gray, cold, and sterile. You've heard that the time of miracles has passed, that the wondrous has been forgotten. What do you believe? This deck is a guide for the 21st century seeker, struggling to find insight and understanding in an urban environment. It is a set of ancient symbols designed to help you see the miraculous in the modern and the mundane. Board the train line that eats its own tail and journey with us. I love that, Ouroboros. Feel the power pulsing below the pavement. Move to the music of traffic and breathe in the smells of smoke and sweat, of hot pizza and the impossible. Within these cards, you will find the familiar and the fantastic sharing a 4-story walk-up apartment where the avenues of dream and reality cross. All aboard. Great stuff, right? So the archetypes that are being used with with this deck are the archetypes of the of our humanity, okay? And there is an alignment with the Thoth Tarot. So you have ideas like swiftness and disappointment, right? Oppression. Look at that. I'm trying to find some more of my the star. I love this one. Look at this. I was like, she's like, there's the star. Let's see, works. Satiety. Oh, look, I love this. Now, this is like one of the few decks that I know that actually has I'm full, I am fulfilled in a gay version, right? Like the cups, the 10 of cups, which in other decks, and I do want to go through and do, like, what do the 10 of cups look like in all of my decks? Because the fullness of abundance and that feeling of, you know, satisfaction, and what does that look like in all of my decks? That would be you know, a great, and if I do it, I'm going to link to it, so you know, you'll find it. And then I like how in the minor arcana, so in the minor arcana card, I'll put these back, there you go. In the minor arcana cards, they even extended out the archetypes. So like the Princess of Swords would be, you know, the activist, right? I was just reading a book called All the Black Women Are Activists, and it reminded me of that right there. Or the Princess of Discs, right? Which would be the pentacles, right? Would be the kindergarten teacher, basically creating and nurturing us and getting us to where we need to be, right? Let's see. So I love this deck for the art. I love the idea of having a more urban appeal. Not necessarily having to be out in the forest and away from it all, but you know, some of us are not away from it all. Some of us are actually in the city, right? And so I loved the idea that this deck went with inclusion of us city folk. Okay, now that being said, there are some things I do not like about this deck, and the first thing is, I don't know if you can tell, but my hands being freakishly small again, I cannot handle or like to actually shuffle, like if I just did a hand shuffle of this deck, it is hard for me. So doing a hand shuffle is a bit harder for me with this deck. I tend to go with maybe a bigger, and look, okay, so you know, being able to shuffle, this takes all of my hand strength, okay, and I'm still, you know, missing some cards, okay. Some people say, you know, you can just like do like a, this is not really like the way that I like to shuffle cards, and I tend not to do a reading in this way. Like, I don't have the floor space, I have dogs, so this this type of thing would not normally happen. But for today's reading, I am going to use this method here. Okay, so I have shuffled the cards. I tend to also do a cutting. Okay, and I'm just going to do a quick reading, asking my helpful guides, my ancestors that have my best and highest intentions at heart, and those who are looking for a message of moving forward, a message maybe of empowerment, a message of help and assistance. So what would be the message for today? So I would tend to draw my 3 cards. The Tower, of course, right? This is indolence. Oh wow, look at that. It's indolence, okay, was reversed. And the Queen of Swords, which was also reversed, is the painter. Okay, not to be confused with the artist, right? But this is the Queen of Swords, the painter, and that one was reversed. Okay, so first off, if I were just looking at the art from the cards, I am able to gain so much imagery from each of these cards. First of all, here was the Tower. We all know what the Tower is, always that shake the table card, right? If you see this, this is actually the city going underwater. You can kind of see the city in the background there. And then you can see how like the water is coming in. There's the Statue of Liberty's storm has come through. We are, this is that the time has come, right? Apparently, as this is my first card, we are in a time right now of transition. We're shaking the table. Things are happening that you would think they should not be happening, but they are happening, and they're happening for our good, right? In the end, I'm always a big proponent that the Tower card means that whatever's going to come after this, it's going to be for my good. It's going to be something that will help me to grow. So that Tower card means that, so far something has been going on. So maybe in your life, something has been going on and you can't gain any sense from this. You're just like, what the fuck is all this about, right? And you can't get it's like just chaos, right? Even like right now in the world, it's just chaos. Just we're in a true WTF moment right now. And that's, where we are here with this Tower card. I can totally feel that just from the idea of indolence being the current card right here, that this is obviously a pull maybe that my energy is influencing, and I get that. But I know that I cannot be the only person out there who is feeling this way. But this is that phone it in card, right? This is the I'm kind of giving up. Indolence is that I've had fun. I'm kind of over it. Honestly, I'm kind of just waiting for something else to happen at this point, right? Like, so you see the desk. I like how the desk has the universe, the Raider Waite card in there. They've got something open, like they were going to work on something, but they're not really working on anything. It's an empty screen here. It's just, mess, and they don't even really care to clean up the mess at this point. I love how they're just like playing stack them with the cups, and it's just like, this is that I really couldn't care enough to care card, right? And maybe this is how a lot of us were feeling in this moment. Now, as you see, this card was reversed, and I personally will take this card to mean that maybe even though you feel like you're on that edge of not caring, you got to keep caring. Like, this is the don't keep going in that direction of indolence, of I don't care. This is not the time for that. Although it may feel like you are trying your hardest to maybe sum up I really want to care, but bruh, I could give like 2 craps about this right now, right? Like, it's not working. I'm just ready to let it be done. This is the it's time to care. It's time to find that last bit. It's time to get to that next, pull it out. There's my mic. Pull it out hands. Pull it out, whatever you can, so that you can make it to whatever this next step is going to be. Okay, and lastly, we have the Queen of Swords. Look at the art on there. This one was represented by the painter. Okay, And when I'm seeing this card, I'm seeing someone, normally like I would say a Queen of Swords would be maybe someone who is it's more of a fluid type of a card, right? You see the, it's got like the water and the fire, right? The water and the air, right? So it's like more of a fluid type of a person, like that Aquarius kind of energy, where that person is like, I know what I know, and I know what I must do, and you cannot tell me otherwise. I am the Queen of Swords, that kind of a feeling, that lofty, great idea, type of a person who, maybe has that leadership ability to maybe vision something, but is not going to stick around and give you any of like the real details on it, because it just has to be done, right? So that's just that's like that fluid type of energy. Now, as we remember, this one was upside down, right? This one was reversed. And so when I'm feeling on this card would be a warning about going too far in that direction. Too far in the fluid, visionary way, right? To not go that far. Okay, it's time to actually, you take the action, right? My feeling after seeing, these three cards together, the message that I would give is that although right now, or, you've just gone through maybe some crazy crap, and you feel like maybe you're over it, and you're just ready to let it just be, like, screw this, I'm done, this was too much. That's not the time right now. Now is the time to say, okay, I can see where I can grow from this. I can see where I can take an action that can help me to move forward, versus just sitting here and waiting for something to just cut me off. Maybe I need to take that step forward and cut it off so that I can move forward. Maybe this is something that's no longer serving me. I need to take that step to move forward. And in doing so, I need to be more detailed, less visionary, less ethereal, more detailed with where I think that I want to go, maybe with my life. That would be the vision that I would see in these cards. And the message that I would see is to be more detailed, less ethereal, less out there in the in the clouds. How painters are, less out in the clouds, and more specific steps that I can take. Painters, they kind of brush it all in, and then they kind of like move it all together, and then bam, art, right? This is, not that type of energy right now. Is like detailed. What can I do? What's my next step so that I can move forward? And that's the steps that should be taken. Make actual goals. Make actual details. Go actually, take a step. That would be, the message. Okay, and now as a special treat, what I'm going to do is read just a little bit from what the artist wrote on each of these pictures. I'm going to put this one up right, and we're going to maybe, there we go. All right, so that you can see the art, okay? And I'm going to read what the artist, Robin Scott, wrote about a little bit about each of these cards. Okay, so the first up would be, let's see, the Tower card. It says, this is the second version of the 16th trump that I've illustrated for this deck. I finished the first piece in September of 2012. At that time, I couldn't imagine depicting anything other than the tragedy that had come to my city on another September morning 11 years previously. A singular moment of fire and horror. I called it the Towers. It felt like an ugly open wound, but it also felt like the only possible image for the deck at the time. It also says, there is a feeling that hangs over us all. It is the crisis that we are in now, assaulting us every day with new disturbing reports, new atrocities, new lies. It is a slowly rising tide swallowing us up day by day, inch by inch. It seems like everything we once depended on, everything we have built, will soon slip below the waves and vanish. It says, I came back to this card to create something that spoke of today's crisis, the disaster happening outside of my window right now. This card has always been the face of disaster, of things gone terribly, terribly wrong. Sometimes it seems there is nothing we can do but bear witness to the horror. We hold close to us those we love and hope that we will be strong enough to do what we must to save who we can. We fear that we are not enough to stop the tide. This tower is inspired by a very real tower in my city, black and gold, ornate and gaudy, ugly in every way. I'd prefer not to name it here, but its name appears on this page all the same. Bruh. We know the tower. We know. Okay, now I'm going to also just say that this was completed in June of 2018, okay? Very recent. So if you can remember what was happening in June, in 2018, maybe outside a lot of our windows, as we turned on the television. And this was the interaction of that. And I loved how recent and how modern that, look at that. I love how recent and how modern that is for us, how relevant. Again, I'd like to hope that something great comes eventually from what we've had to experience. Okay, for the indolence card, the Eight of Cups, the artist writes, now this one was completed November 2014. Robin Scott says, after the initial honeymoon phase, we saw in the first three cards in the suit, the relationship story told in the cups has suffered through some difficult times. With the four, we faced the dangers of getting too comfortable and stale. In the five, we dealt with betrayal and disappointment. Although the six brought us once more to pure joy, the seven immediately found itself overindulging in that pleasure and becoming corrupted by it. With the eight, we see perhaps the ultimate threat to any relationship, when someone simply stops caring enough to make it work. Wow. This card represents a toxic morass of procrastination, distraction, depression, and sloth, an ever-deepening pit that we dig for ourselves. The longer we stay in it, the harder it becomes to climb. The longer we stay in it, the harder it becomes to climb out again. It takes the strength of will that allows us to speak honest, painful truths, and the emotional courage we sometimes need to stand up and simply walk away. I had been imagining this card originally as being set in some anonymous cubicle farm, where a lazy employee was drinking on the job and playing solitaire rather than working. But I decided to get a little more personal with it and depict my own workstation and put my own self-recriminations for laziness right up on the screen. One big blank rectangle open in Photoshop. The empty canvas is a scary thing for any artist to contemplate. And when you read what Robin Scott was thinking when coming up with this card, it makes it that much more personal and that much more deep. That was the actual, workstation, right? This is what the workstation, looked like and depicted in artwork. Okay, and for the Queen of Swords, the painter, it says, There exists a certain idealized vision of what it means to be an artist. An artist is supposed to be self-confident and driven by a font of pure inspiration from within. Having no concern for the allure of fortune and fame, the artist is driven only by the work. The Queen of Swords is very much this breed of artist. She creates because she must, and it matters little to her whether her work is ever even seen by another soul. The only reward she seeks is the act of creation itself. Wow. Drifting like a cloud, she has no concern for the petty problems of earth. Utterly impractical, the Queen's imagination floats free and takes her to places others would never dream of. Untouched by fire, she is graceful and calm, and cannot be easily steered by the ideals of others. Without fire's fortitude and drive, however, she can sometimes be overly sensitive to emotional currents, switching from the caring empathy of water to the cold inaccessibility of air in a moment. I had Debbie pose for this image, sitting in front of my old drafting table, in a space I had once imagined would be my studio. Over time, it turned out that my approach to art involved using a mouse much more than it involved a brush. I eventually got rid of the drafting table, but I admit I will always find traditional painting to hold a certain romantic appeal. So this is Debbie Trencher, and this card was completed April 2003. So wow, there we have it. That is the Urban Tarot by Robin Scott. Just to sum up, what I've loved about this deck, the art, awesome, supreme. I love that each of the cards was actually created, in art form by Robin Scott. I will forever love this. I've actually enjoyed how the archetypes are used, and they go even further from what the major arcana archetypes were. So you get like an even deeper, feel with the artist, the journalist, the day trader. I think there was one. Look at the fool sitting there on top of the building. I can go into these, forever. Some cons, again, the deck is just too damn big for my hands. So I do not use this deck very often. But apparently when I do, I get pretty accurate results, and I'm going to, stick by that. I do like this little card that came, in the beginning of it. And that's pretty much about that. I love the feeling of the city, of the oneness of inclusion of all things, concrete art and, natural, that would exist with having, being in an urban setting. And as someone who considers herself more of an urban person, I think that was something that drew me to this deck. Obviously, I live in the city by the ocean, and it's just I needed those two together, and this kind of wrapped that up for me. If you have other decks that you are interested in and you would like for me to maybe do a review, just drop it into the comments and I will go ahead and find that deck and do the review for you. I don't know if these are called reviews, but I guess they're called reviews. I don't know what we're calling these. So if this is something that resonates with you, please leave a comment or like and subscribe so that I can know that this is the type of thing that you would like to see more of. The little reading that I did, if that resonated with you at all when you're seeing this, let me know also in the comments. I read the comments because I don't have a team, right? I am the comment reader. I am also the creator, right? So if that resonated with you, let me know, and I would love to hear more from you. Again, this is the Urban Tarot. I am the Soulful Creatrix, and I'm wishing you nothing but love, peace, happiness, and joy and blessings. Until next time.